call this Monday, January 12th, 2026 meeting of the Grafton Planning Board to order. We're all in the room, so we don't need a roll call. This is where we have a chance for public input. If anyone wants to talk about something that's in our purview that is not otherwise on the agenda, this is the time to raise your hand on the wire or in the room.
We have no attendees on Zoom, no hands raised.
Well, I guess we're not going to have any public input in that. It appears we have no action items. We do have a discussion item. The drafts of changes to the subdivision rules and regulations.
Yes. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the board may recall that there was a discussion about the updates to the rules and regulations at the last meeting. The board decided to continue the discussion to this meeting to kind of unpack some of the changes. Also, the file that was uploaded didn't, the PDF version didn't show the comments in a very understandable way. So we uploaded the Word document that has all of the commentary that's been going on between staff, the VHB consulting team, myself, and board members who provided feedback. So honestly, I think the goal of this meeting is to just review the changes that have been made over the past 2 years regarding implementing low impact development principles and deciding your comfort level with the changes and if how you'd like to proceed. I believe there was one comment in particular that the board wanted to discuss a little bit more regarding the common driveways and how many units they're serving. So that'll probably take up most of the discussion, I would think. But just to further recap, since the last meeting, there was a few comments made. Mr. Chair, I believe yourself and Mr. Robbins suggested adding definitions for flexible development, removing references to cluster using consistent language, and some kind of more like administrative items like that. So I did incorporate those changes and I uploaded them to the meeting materials, and I will I don't know how the board wants to proceed. There's a couple of comments that we did receive from the public regarding updates to the regs that are related but not in the scope for VHB's contract. So I'm not sure if the board wants to talk about how the board wants to do that, if we want to address the commentary from VHB and then talk about the tree and invasive species commentary in the letters, or I think that's probably the best, and that's my recommendation because we are contracted with VHB to finish this work and we have a little bit more time and flexibility to address the edits to trees.
My only concern is, when was the last time that appendix that talks about plantings modified? I don't think you're going to find out. I think it's the same one that Peter Lowett put in when I started, or before, at the time I started on the board. And I can remember more than once that we have discussed, or not we, but planning board cycles have said, we really need to update that section. And someone says, yeah, we'll get on that. And now it's 30 years. And so I'm a little, that makes me a little leery of just saying, we'll take care of it later. We change these rules every decade or so, whether we need to or not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure it's quite that often.
Yeah.
So,
My only comment is a little different than you on that, Bob. Is the subdivision rules we can change whenever we want, effectively. Like we can have
We
public
have the
input and then
ability to do
we have the
that,
ability
yeah.
to vote changes. So, I think, at least my opinion is, we don't drop the tree stuff. We don't push it off, but we decouple it from the VHP update. So we can do the VHP update. We can vote on the VHP this update with the lid, and then we can have that as a separate update that we still just immediately work on.
But that's what I've been promised before. That's my problem. But anyway, I'm thinking, my thought was, let's take out talking about specific species or even specific regulations and just say, we don't want invasive species, and let people fight it out when the time comes, or up until the time that we get back to work that out. Might be as good as I'm told that I'm told by a former planning board member who knows something about plants that this is actually a pretty controversial subject. We have a
Right.
lovely Kusa tree in the backyard, and she says that's from foreign material. It probably is invasive.
Right.
Don't you? I wonder about the cherry trees along the in Washington. They're from Japan. This is not an easy subject.
Mr. Chair, if I may, so just to
Yeah.
Justin's point and yours, this topic is complicated, and how we want to address it is, we're going to need to flesh it out a little bit more. If I was able to confirm, I was under the impression that there needed to be some sort of procurement to maybe hire a certified arborist or a horticulturist or a landscape architect or somebody in this world that kind of knows the most current standards, et cetera, and go through, attack it that way. We don't need to follow all of the standard 30B requirements for that type of work. We can do a request for information or quotes. That would be my recommendation, especially if we want to update the table. I mean, I don't personally have a problem with just removing the table, but sometimes it's good to provide guidance for developers about what a particular community is looking for, what type of species that they want to see. So it's just it's definitely going to involve additional research and follow up, which we can't.
Although one of the things we looked for was salt tolerant, and then the other that's been discussed is invasive. If we just say we don't like these, those two categories, and then when the time, when we can and when we feel like it, if it's controversial, we may find experts, consultants who have different opinions about it, and
Yeah, my thought, first of all, on the LID stuff, I'm comfortable with everything as presented. So that's point one. I'm happy with the way it looks. I read all the way through it and reviewed all the comments and everything, and I'm happy with that as it stands. I think we can move forward with that. I tend to think that we don't need that comprehensive list of tree species in the subdivision rules. I think kind of go along with the other comments here that we can say a little bit about it. We can I think we can look at, aside from that list of tree species, which we can deal with that outside of the rules and regulations. But we just need to say enough. And this is perhaps the slightly tricky part of it, is looking at the various elements that our commenters have pointed to, and, revise the rules, eliminate that table entirely. If we needed to have a table like that, we could have, and I'm not sure we even need that ultimately, I think like Bob says, we can be much more generalized about what we say we want. And outside the rules and regulations, there can be discussions about specific species. So I would just set that table aside entirely, look at the other elements that are mentioned, like references to ANSI standards and whatever else, and just make sure there's just enough in there that covers the topic in a way that's not unnecessarily specific, not unnecessarily rigid, and not problematic. And that's something I don't advocate doing that for this specific revision, the LID revision of the rules and regs. I think that's probably something that we can tackle as a subsequent revision later this year. I think we do need to, keeping in mind Bob's comment, we did the revision about 4 years ago, and we'd been putting that off for quite a while. The last revision prior to that was 2009, and so after several years of the board saying we got to revise those rules,
And
I
the planner going,
basically sat down and started tackling that, and we got the board involved, but really that was kind of an initiative that we finally said enough is enough. We got to do it.
yeah, by doing something like what I said, put in not something like, well, partly to the satisfaction of the board, but non-invasive, salt-free and otherwise, as the board may find. The point is having something in the rules that gives you a handle
Right.
when these folks come in and say they shouldn't be putting those in. We can say, yeah, that's within our
Yeah,
scope.
you want to say just enough to make it clear the criteria that we would be evaluating.
Yeah, but also that we will be looking at that as part
Yes.
of what we do.
I do have one further comment, but I'll let the other members speak if they have anything to add before I go.
Go ahead.
Okay. The only thought I had too on doing just that simple word and moving the table is does any other communities in Worcester County, at least, or Central Mass in general, have similar in their subdivision rules, and if so, does any of them have any problems with utilizing that in some way that we might want to look at trying to find a solution for ourselves before we just put it in,
Before we
enact that as a change?
before we even do what we were talking about taking out what's there and just putting a little bit in to start with.
I was thinking as part of the process of putting that in, just to kind of check to see, hey, does anyone else have this kind of wording? Maybe there's wording that's better than what we might put in. Maybe the community had a problem and they changed their wording to fix the problem. Those kind of things could be useful to know.
Yeah, that's kind of, my thoughts in general about doing things like this are, I don't want to reinvent the wheel if I can find a perfectly good wheel. So as part of looking at this, I would look to other communities to see how they've dealt with the question.
Does that mean we leave it as it is for now?
I think for the LID update, yes. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, I would like to complete the LID update without throwing anything else into it today or at this point. But I would like us to sort of be committed to tackling this as a topic and not putting it off indefinitely.
So what I can do is, so we can, I'll put on, I'll start doing the research in the background, looking at what other communities are doing, and seeing how they're addressing the language. To make a couple of calls and just, follow up on some of the references, because I agree. I mean, I think if you can minimize the amount of, like, if you keep the table, it's always going to need to be reviewed. Because species apparently, species can become invasive when they once weren't. So it's always going to need constant kind of not constant monitoring, but regular review. If we can reference, DCRs or Mass DEP's trusted references instead of, again, trying to kind of create something from scratch. I think that's wise. So I'll do some background research, follow up, pull some sources together, speak to the Open Space and Rec Committee and Sustainable Grafton and a few other groups out there, and get some buy-in, and then we can maybe shoot for late spring or talking about it again.
Is there anybody who maintains a current list of the either invasive or desirable
You mean in
plants
Grafton
that could be
or at
referenced to? No, could you say in the bylaw, please operate by referencing this list that's maintained by this environmental association?
If you read the correspondence, I think they cited standards.
So could it just reference a list that is kept current rather than the law having to list it out?
Yes, and I think that was my kind of early long-winded way of saying we should just do that. So we're
Yeah,
not.
I
having
support
to-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my first thoughts is I'd rather not have a list like that in the subdivision rules.
Right.
I'd rather reference other sources which may change from year to year, but will provide information that's current at the time a subdivision is approved.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I know the state maintains a list of invasive species.
Yep.
I've forgotten whether his was state or federal, or both of them.
They were referenced in both letters that the community had supplied.
Was it state or was it federal?
I don't remember the specifics. Yeah. But I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm comfortable with the revisions to the rest of the document that have been made. So I support that completely, and I think we should. I don't think we can take it out completely. We have to have some kind of language that gives people some guidance.
Yeah.
The perfect example is what we had with Tufts. At one of our just recent previous meetings, they came with things that they thought were perfectly allowable, plantings, and there was a comment from the community that those happened to be invasive, and they were very comfortable shifting to another.
Even if we didn't have a rule that absolutely said
Yes.
that particular species.
Right.
Because they keep inventing these species.
Absolutely. They're going to
They
change.
keep
They're going to
invading
change
us
monthly, so
from
you
somewhere.
can't. Let's rely on someone that's from that's experts in the industry.
And then even if it's not an invasive species, there's invasive pests that can damage the things that come out brand new.
It can change every week.
You said pests.
Pests.
We should put outlaw pests in here that,
Yeah, no pests allowed on your property,
Yeah.
including mosquitoes.
including
There you
mosquitoes.
go.
Oh, now we get into spraying. And whether
No,
the
no pesticide either.
You
No pests, no pesticide.
Can we outlaw black flies?
Right after with the mosquitoes.
All right.
Anyway,
I do
So-
know that there's a state list of invasive species. I've looked it up. I couldn't point you to it right now, but I do know there is one from the state.
Yes.
and
But let's see.
May not be the
let's
only
use
relevant
good
one.
point by Justin. Let's see what other people are doing. Come up with the best possible thing to put in that. But we have to have some guidance for the community.
And I just want us to be perhaps unnecessarily repetitive. This is a topic we need to tackle, and I don't think we want to put it off indefinitely. We need to make ourselves a commitment to address this specific topic
Yes.
sooner rather than later.
to
I hereby assign you the responsibility
to
to make that happen immediately, if not sooner.
to exactly that point, one thing we could do which is kind of administrative, but still just to say it loud, is under staff report, we can, or on the agenda in some way, list topics that we are actively paying attention to and looking at that are not projects that are in progress. So,
They could be there every time, just like the reports from,
Yep.
CMRPC and,
yeah, I think the select board had
Committees.
adopted that around the time Evan started, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
we can do that.
So, does anybody have anything in the lid draft that they're concerned about? I have one thing, might just be that I can't read those damn documents correctly. I can't tell for sure, because I thought I still found the planning board is strongly advised or encouraged to do a couple of things. And I think I mentioned, no, this is our rules. If the town passes a bylaw that says the planning board is strongly encouraged to do something, that's fine, the town is telling us something. But this is the planning board telling itself, this planning board encouraging whatever planning board might come along. And I don't think that, we're making a rule about it. I
what
think
you
there's at least a couple of places, and if they're in there when it comes time to vote, I'm gonna vote no. Remember,
Do you know where
this
those are
is
specifically?
us
Because I don't.
making rules.
Yes, I see, I just looked 4.1.2, looks like there was,
Some of it was moved, I
some of
think
it was moved.
it was in things that were moved, and
Section 2.7 was taken out.
anyway, that, you can just take note of that for,
Okay,
you're gonna advertise, right?
yes, we're gonna advertise
and-
for a public hearing, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was comfortable with the language before, obviously, we do that. I think that language was, the red line is still in the document, but I think that language is removed.
I didn't see anything that said which colors were which.
Yeah, strongly's in one spot.
And it was hard to distinguish, looking in the documents, which one was which. There's two on our agenda.
Right,
And the file names didn't,
yes, there's
you
been,
know, you gotta, people is like me, you gotta do a lot of helping.
yes,
Searching for the word strongly, there's nothing that is saying the planning board should. Do those-
Look for encouraged.
Okay, I'll look for encouraged.
There are some places where we encourage we encourage people to come in and talk to us
That
ahead
I've
of
seen.
time.
I've seen
And
the.
that is,
What section is that?
I-
It's gone now, right?
I wish a lot more
I'm
people
looking
would
at
do
just the
that.
full markup one.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't use Word on my tablet too often, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here.
I don't use Word very often, period.
so we'll say there was a few players here, so VHB had the project manager that was involved, as well as this, her colleague, and
All I
myself and
wanted to
Dave.
fix it.
and others. So I think if you right click, you should be able to see who did, or on the sidebar, like the comment sidebar that comes up. If you click on the edit, it shows you who did it. Obviously, you're not going to know all these people from VHB, but
Just,
I see, 2.6 looks like it's active there. While
Yes.
each development proposal unique, the planning board is encouraged to waive standards.
yeah,
And
the
then,
planning board is encouraged. No. This is the planning board saying, the rules are.
would you be comfortable with just to ask it, the planning board may waive standards for?
I think that we can, I think we can waive our rules in general, can't we?
yes.
So it's
there's-
not necessary to say it there. And I wouldn't encourage
Yeah.
inviting it,
I think that language is copied from the zoning bylaw.
yes. And in that place, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
I can-
it may or may not be fine, but it's not wrong there.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'll
Do
fix
we
that.
have anything else? Do we need
No, I don't believe so. In regarding the lid updates, no, I think just, there was a summary of revisions at the end of the document. Oh my goodness, okay, where is that? If there was anything there that the board wanted to flag or change, it seems like everybody is
I-
comfortable.
I think you're gonna make a document
A final,
that people, to inform people for our hearing, including us, and, do what is appropriate so that people can, including us, can see what we're doing.
Summary of changes, it does say in 2.6, updated to encourage waivers for standards curbing, ROW width, sidewalks, drainage, common driveways.
No.
So if we're not adding that, that will need to be changed. And it also says 2025 updates. At this point, we're 2026 updates.
yes. Well, these were done in 2025, but including my
But
turnaround, but
not
yes,
the document.
They're not enacted in 2025 is my thought.
yes.
Do we need a vote?
Can I, Mr. Chair, can I just clarify, what are we doing with the language under 2.6? Are we taking it out? Because it's repetitive with the zoning bylaw? I just need to know. Seems,
The planning board is not going to encourage the planning board. Take out when the planning board is encouraging the planning board. If the zoning wants to say something, let the zoning say it.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but, and I understand that language needs to be changed, but there's a reference to waivers specifically. Am I removing that entirely? I mean, I know the encouraged, I understand that part.
But if we can waive anything, why do we have to say we can waive something?
If you wanted to make it more clear, we don't have to do that. I'm just confirming what I need to do for the next time.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how best, if at all, to repeat in the subdivision rules and regulations what the zoning bylaw says about what the planning board should do. And I think Bob's point here is well taken, that the board has the authority to waive anything, correct?
It's the principle of not repeating something from the law on a step down, so that when the law changes, then you gotta notice and come back and change yours. You use one reference. It's stated in one place. You can say the planning board's gotta follow what the law says. At the top.
Why can't you just say that the planning board may waive standards for curbing right of way? I mean, it doesn't mean we have to. I mean, it's just like every decision that we make, we might have to do that.
That's inviting it, and, I don't think we need
Okay,
to
so
invite
do you
people
want her to
it.
delete it all out, or do you want her to change, do you want to change the language?
No, I don't think everything that follows, we may,
So do you want to take out do you want to take out the sentence, or do you want to modify the language? She just needs some guidance.
Just trying to- I can draft something with both and have have something mocked up so that the board can see, and then if we just wanna nix it during the hearing, that's fine.
If we're gonna decide to advertise and publish, we need to know what you publish to go with the advertisement. Yeah, all proposals that are subject to waived standards are subject to review and approval. We don't need that. Compliance, all plans that relate to not requiring approval shall conform in all respects to the provisions of these rules and regulations unless otherwise authorized by the planning board. Period. See what I'm saying? 2.6. I think you can end.
Do we have notes on why we felt this needed to be added?
As part of the scope of BHB's work, they are doing an overview of, the zoning bylaw as well, and we wanted to make sure that in all applicable areas, both of those documents were talking to each other where they needed to. So as was mentioned, there is some language that's a bit, it's repetitive between the two, but it's to kind of underscore the shared goal of implementing LID.
Am I looking at this word change right? That really the red underlined was partially in place before and it just got reworded and some things were removed entirely? Is that what I'm seeing?
The red is the initial changes that were made. Those were additions, and then the blue is changes.
Changes to that.
Yes.
Yes,
Original red line is always red.
the entire clauses, the set of clauses about starting with all proposals that are subject to waive standards are subject to review by the department, that's added. That wasn't there before
That's also the
in
very
the
bottom
original
of the bylaws.
subdivision. And then moving on, the language starting with while each development proposal is unique, going to the end of the list of sections to be waived. That was not in the previous subdivision rules, and it was added as basically a copy and paste from the zoning bylaw. Then within that, the highlighted in blue was corrections to what was lifted out of the zoning bylaw.
Right.
Because the zoning bylaw, the list of sections
Was
that the zoning bylaw suggests we waived is out of date.
yes, and we caught that over the stability. We caught that.
Could
over
we
the summer.
agree, start with while each development and go to the end of that, what we're looking at, and remove it?
I think that would be the simplest fix here, is remove it.
I can't make motions, but,
That
make it so the number one.
I mean, I get the spirit of trying to have it in two places, but it seems like you could just stop at the end of subdivision
Having
control
things in
law.
two places is always perpetually
I
problematic.
think it's useful to still say subject to review and approval by the fire department, though. Just
Yeah,
to,
Well, that part I want to keep.
well, of course, the fact that the proposal comes to us and we send it to the fire department. And if the fire department comes back and says, I'm not happy, we say, change it.
yeah, I think it still is beneficial to call it out here for the fire department, but beyond that, I'm
well,
okay with moving it.
Isn't that true though for everybody? The building
I-
inspector?
Well, I wouldn't
the,
want a
water
Frank down the
department?
street.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a Frank in Millbury to tell us.
Yeah, no, I think if anything, a motivation for specifically referencing the fire department here is that Historically, fire has not always weighed in when we wanted them to. They should weigh in as part of their initial review of the application. It's important for the fire department to continue to pay attention to this. So, because the fire department will object to waiving standards for things like the roadway width.
Right.
And so I think there's an emphasis here that calls for the fire department to be continually, involved with being aware of and having a say on, any revisions to the plans.
Okay. Yep, I agree.
So I think in a way it's redundant because we have a whole list of departments that are required to review and comment on the plans when they come in. But,
I think the reason that the fire department often didn't give us much was because of the staffing of the fire
Yes.
department. That has now changed.
yes, I think
We
that,
had a part-time, it's
Yeah.
not voluntary, but,
There's
had a
two staff.
part-time chief and that was the end of it.
So-
And now we have,
Two.
we're starting to talk
Right.
about
Yeah.
firefighters.
Yeah.
In the
yes, and I
building.
think it's fair to say that currently at least, and for the foreseeable future, fire is going to be capable of being much more involved in plan review than they have in the past.
But, everybody else is too. I don't care whether, but it just seems,
Yeah,
uh,
I think my kind of 2 cents on that is everybody has a decent first crack at an application, but if there's a revision made that would require us to waive, or they ask us, can we waive this because it'll make their design simpler? The act of waiving the standards has a greater impact on fire than it does on most other departments that would have a public impact.
I always say, when we're doing changes, I say, now, did the, highway
Oh, no,
department
yes.
or whoever,
You do, but
yeah.
10 years from now, when we make the next update to this,
In my walker, in my wheelchair, I'll be, well, I don't care about that.
One other comment relative to the subdivision rules encouraging the planning board to waive standards is that the context for that is, as I said, as we've established, that comes from the zoning bylaw. In perhaps important context in the zoning bylaw is that the planning board is strongly encouraged to waive sections of the subdivision rules in the interests of good design if it determines that adequate access will be provided to all lots in the development by ways that will be safe and convenient for travel. Now, that doesn't change. That's part of the zoning bylaw, and that's giving some direction to the planning board.
Okay.
A specific, and because that's in the zoning bylaw, I don't think any of us would suggest repeating that part of it in the subdivision rules. We should be updating the zoning bylaw to have an accurate list of the specific sections of the subdivision rules. But
yeah.
that's for the zoning bylaw, not for the subdivision rules.
Okay.
But then when we change the rules, you gotta change the zoning
In
bylaw
fact,
to refer.
we may prefer in a zoning bylaw update not to try to refer to specific sections of the subdivision
Yes.
rules.
But also, if the zoning bylaw only encourages us, it has no effect. I mean,
Yeah.
they can say, but they encourage you, and I say, not this, I can't see it this time. And that's, when you go to court and say, they didn't follow the bylaw. The bylaw encouraged them to give me what I want.
Well,
How's that gonna stand up?
okay, we were encouraged, but we decide whether to respond to that encouragement or how we respond.
Yeah, so why does it, how much, never mind.
Yeah,
Do we need
that's
anything?
a debate for the zoning
Yes,
bylaw.
I guess we do.
But, yeah, so this specific, starting with while each development proposal, the planning board is encouraged to waive standards, blah, 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 to the end of the paragraph. move we delete that from the draft.
Okay.
Is everyone in agreement? Do we need a
I
vote?
agree.
We don't need a
Agreed.
vote.
Agreed.
No vote needed, in my mind.
Is there anything else? Do you need a vote to put this forward? Yes, we probably need a vote to put this forward.
I didn't.
Hold a hearing and proceed.
I did not put that on the agenda specifically for under action items. So my apologies.
Can't we still do that with the, if this discussion and this was our discussion fully within our purview, and it's gonna something that comes back to us and gets public discussion in a later date. I feel it is okay to vote on this now.
Yeah. Because the vote that counts is after the hearing,
Yeah, that's something.
and there'll be an action item on that one.
You're right, after the hearing, the board will, sooner or later, the board will vote to adopt the revised rules and regulations.
So
At which point that will be published through the town clerk's office, after which it becomes effective.
And we'll figure out what the process is if something comes up in the public hearing
Yes.
that, all right.
Yes.
So I will move that staff do what they need to do as far as publication and scheduling a hearing for the board to take up the draft as presented and discussed at a future meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. So much for a short meeting, Linda. Bills, we have some bills.
Move the board authorize the bills to be paid.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
so voted unanimously. Staff report.
I am working on closing out, well, I was closing out 2025 projects, and now 2026 is starting. So I am just kind of focusing on those types of things as opposed to applications and day-to-day and that type of thing. I am doing finalizing 2 requests for proposals, one for the feasibility study of Fisherville Mill to do get a consultant to conduct a kind of a financial and development feasibility analysis for that site. It's very complicated and there's a lot of moving parts. So the goal is to study the site and hopefully get some some pre-permitting due diligence done, and then have a developer eventually come in and utilize that to develop the property.
It'd be great to make something happen there, but it belongs to someone who has been trying for a long time
Right.
to, they paid for it. And, is it, I'm not sure about spending public money.
So this was a grant that
Oh, okay.
we applied. Okay.
And
If-
isn't it already a accelerated development parcel?
It's
Accelerated permitting, excuse me.
No,
it's not 43D.
it's a 40R.
40R, right? So there's, just to Bob's point, there's been, the owner of the property has been trying very hard, has, approached the town about what possibilities there are. We had reached out to the state, had an informational kind of meeting about, okay, we need to try and get this moving. It was suggested to apply for this through the Community One Stop. We did, and we got it for $100,000. So now it's developing the RFP for a developer to do the work. So that's where I'm at. I'm also, I've really been kind of focusing on like grant applications and follow up from grant awards that were received. I was not able to connect with DPW about the Complete Streets application for sidewalks in time. So Complete Streets is twice a year. So there's always another bite at the apple for that one in particular. So I think we'll revisit that. Our current DPW director is retiring very soon, so he's probably got a lot on his plate at the moment. So, kind of in discussions about some, potential opportunities perhaps state historic funding for repointing of the a townhouse to be determined. I'm still in talks about that. We applied to the Eco One Stop portal, which is One Stop but the environmental version, for some assessments, some facilities assessments for some town-owned buildings. Working on that with Tracy. So yeah, just a lot kind of going on in that regard, trying to kind of pivot instead of, decision writing and meeting with, kind of the standard day to day, focusing on some of the kind of cooler projects. There's a lot going on. Capital budgeting is coming up, so working on that. I have that pretty much done. I just need to submit it to the TA's office. Annual report, we're drafting that. Public records requests, minutes, we have a lot going on. Trying to hire another office assistant as well. Scheduling interviews for that starting next week. Really hoping that it works out this time. And yeah, there's just a lot going on, but I'm happy to answer any questions about anything in particular. I also will be applying for a Mass Trails grant with the Blackstone Valley Heritage Corridor for the Blackstone Bikeway / Greenway, the feasibility study for the Grafton portion. There's a lot of interest in that, and they approached me and asked if the town would be interested. I did meet with Evan and a member of the select board and some other members of the public, and it seems like a worthwhile endeavor. I've been trying to get this going for another one that's trying to get going for a long time. So, yeah.
Where is this section located in town?
So it's South Grafton. It's really like the bottom corner. Let me see if I can. So there's
No,
been
that's enough. I don't have to go.
In the vicinity of the canal.
yeah.
You know what I mean when I say the canal?
Not exactly.
The former canal.
122A over there.
Well,
Okay.
the canal came down,
North of the river.
it's north of 122A, comes down, and it goes down the left side of the Fisherville Mill
Okay.
property, under the road, and on down to Farnhamsville, the water of the Farnhamsville.
Yeah, I think the
and
canal kind of, does the canal kind of join the river past the Farnhamsville Mill?
Yeah, it never had enough water to succeed. Railroads came. In fact, it's where the railroad runs there is pretty much where the canal
Okay.
was.
Got it.
The assessment, CMRPC assessment should have
Yes.
about now arrived.
Yes, that I received that on Friday. So I'm.
We voted it on Thursday.
Yes.
Yes. So that's yeah. I just need to connect with the TA's office about the budget, making sure that I was slightly off when I did my budget. I asked for 6,400. The assessment was 65. So Evan, but we're still. That's a minor change. Should be fine.
$100, you're not gonna find that.
Yeah, I know. I emailed him immediately. I was like, please, make sure that this is updated. I just got this, and so I am aware. Yes,
Okay.
we're on it.
All of the staff report?
Since the new year has been since the holiday has been anything new with Pine Street or Upton Street?
No. The select board has been in executive session regarding 17 and 27 for a while, finalizing some terms of the purchase and sale.
Oh, I thought that was already done. Okay. Yep. Moving on.
That was that's my understanding. I haven't been.
Like I thought that was done in November. So if it's not done, then I'm fine.
Yeah, I think that they're still just working through.
What happened at the select board meeting last week was I got the impression that in executive session they finalized their negotiations.
Okay.
They were going to vote on it in the open session, but there was some discussion about Well, the public should be able to see what they voted on, so they're gonna put out the final stuff and then vote on it at probably their next meeting or two.
Great, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I wasn't, I wasn't that up to speed on it, so thank you. I know I have to have a meeting with Evan, soon. We usually go over everything, but we hadn't had it yet, so. And nothing on a pine.
Okay.
No.
Anything in correspondence? Don't think so. Reports from planning board representatives on town committees and CMRPC. You were at the meeting.
I have nothing to report on anything else, and Bob and I were both at the CMRPC quarterly meeting,
And you can tell them
Were
what they
they-
talked about.
where the, aside from CMRPC business, what the topic of discussion was, I think it's called Vision Zero, but it's basically traffic safety. CMRPC, if I understand it right, is sort of undertaking a region-wide, traffic safety effort, working with the communities to cover, I think it's like five different traffic safety topics. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they were, but so we had kind of an introduction to the traffic safety issues, or the goals of the project, and
Yeah.
some of the topics that were going to be likely to be covered. It was partly an information gathering session, as I understand it, to get more input from the communities, and the project will be ongoing. I understand that there will be some additional discussions, regional discussions within the various CMRPC regions coming up over the next few months.
Yeah, I got the sense, I'm not totally clear, but I think there's a contract to do a study. Part of the contract is to get input. This is, the planner's scheme of having breakout sessions where we all come up with our hot ideas, like make the roads wider so we can have bicycle lanes. That ought to be easy on George Hill Road. And I happen to point out the right of way is, but I didn't hear anything, I don't remember hearing anything suggested in my breakout, or in the general session that I haven't heard before. And I didn't know the reason why it's the way it is. Although I think having to have bicycle inspections that include lights, proper lights for nighttime would be good. And I don't know whether we can require people to
Yeah.
wear reflective.
Yeah,
Clothing.
not to spend excess time on it tonight, but I just remembered that they emailed out the presentation.
Yes.
So the sort of the thing is kind of the topic is generally covered by what they're calling a safe system approach, which includes safer vehicles, like the town has a lot of control over that, safer speeds, safer roads, post-crash care, and safer people. So some of this is just, it really isn't, all we can do is education and information for the public, but there are things we can do for safer speeds, safer roads, post-crash care. I was in that breakout group, and a lot of what we talked about was getting, when there is a crash and there's a serious injury, getting people to emergency care as quickly as possible. But I think there's more to that topic than just that. But that was, anyway, not to belabor the point. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this over time.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is that we had two people from F. Grafton's representatives at the quarterly meeting,
Yeah.
which,
Bob feels lonely most of the time there, at least as far as
all right.
Grafton compatriots.
Anybody else have anything? I didn't think so. Any other items which no, there's nothing that I've decided, nothing. All right, we're not gonna extend.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, not debatable, all in favor? Aye, opposed, so voted unanimously.
And we are done.
Didn't make the record. Imagine if there were